Zelenskyy is in Germany. 110, please. Russia continues to bomb Ukraine and destroy energy facilities and other assets. Here's a very poetic post on X from President Zelenskyy. Europe needs an independent and strong defense industry in partnership with the United States. I think that Europe must be independent with strong security guarantees. He goes on. All this is pretty vague. He says he's going to present tomorrow. So he's giving a speech in Munich. And you can see there, for those of you who are watching on YouTube or another video platform, he toured a drone factory in Munich. Here's some video of that, of him walking around. And there's been what they call at international conferences, the class photo without him. I don't think there was an American in there, but Zelenskyy and European leaders, and a lot of support for him. But again, nothing out of the conference. Kevin, what would you anticipate the Secretary of State will say about Ukraine and Putin at this meeting?
Yeah, he previewed a little bit of it in his remarks on the tarmac, talking about the continued bombing. He talked about how cold it is in Ukraine and the fact that they're targeting those energy facilities. So I think he's going to zero in on that, similar to what the president has said. Talk about the humanitarian element of it, and to really put pressure on Europe to step up, which it seems like they're doing. The German chancellor opened the conference talking about the need for Europe to almost stand alone on itself in terms of defenses and then not take anything for granted, which I think is a positive thing, actually, for us from a national security perspective.
Yeah, Kevin mentioned the vice president. Here he is on the tarmac. I think this is on arrival, 114.
You mean the
please.
Secretary of State?
What did I say? Secretary of Defense?
Vice President, not
vice president. The next vice president, maybe. Here's Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, 114, please.
What do you think the Europeans are hoping to hear? Something more conciliatory than last year?
Look at that sky.
I think they want honesty. They want to know where we're going, where we'd like to go, where we'd like to go with them. So that's our hope. It's an important conference. My third time, twice as Secretary of State. Well, a lot of members of Congress there, so as well. I'll see them tomorrow as well. So it's important. And I think it's at a defining moment. And I refer you back to even the speech or the statement I gave during my nomination hearing as Secretary of State. The world is changing very fast right in front of us. The old world is gone, frankly, the world I grew up in, and we live in a new era in geopolitics, and it's going to require all of us to sort of re-examine what that looks like and what our role is going to be. And we've had many of these conversations in private with many of our allies, and they are our allies, and we need to continue to have those conversations, and I think Saturday, hopefully, and the meetings we'll have there will move us in that direction.
Larry, some European analysts think of the Secretary of State as good cop to the vice president's bad cop, and see Rubio as more sympathetic to the alliance, the traditional contours of the alliance. Do you agree with that analysis?
Maybe on a surface level, but if you look at the actual words he just said, the old world is gone. We live in a new era of geopolitics, and it's going to require all of us to sort of re-examine what that looks like. That doesn't sound like an institutionalist to me. I think it's on the surface. Fundamentally, the Secretary of State is right in line with the Vice President and the President on foreign policy, it appears. He just might be the softer touch.
Yeah.
I will say, too,
ahead,
Mark, the interesting thing for me is, all these European leaders are still responding to the Vice President's address from last year, that is still kind of setting the table and the agenda and the conversation a year after he put that out there.
Yeah.
But Kevin, knowing the players involved, do you think Secretary Rubio disagrees with anything Vice President Vance said in his address last year?
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
And again, you're seeing, an emboldened Europe finally kind of standing up for itself, whether it be the GDP spent on NATO and things like that, and realizing a true ally isn't just a feudal state, which they have been to some degree in NATO. Now they sound like a kind of more Trump Republican on the foreign policy front, but this is a good thing for us when we actually have true allies investing in their own security and not just relying on us.
You could not buy a mini croissant at the George Sank on the gap between Rubio and Vance on Europe. They're over. The difference between them is overstated. Okay, here's a Polymarket on a Ukraine peace deal. Here we go. 31% chance for a deal by the end of 2027. Ukraine signs a peace deal, end of 2027. Only a 31% chance by the end of 2027.
Damn,
that seems
that's
seems a little pessimistic. Wow. It does seem a little pessimistic.
They say that something that's easy is like a walk in the park. Well, Easier than a walk in the park? Hit the subscribe button, be part of the two-way community, never miss an episode, be part of our conversations. Thank you for your service to America.
And don't forget, you can now listen to the morning meeting and Two Way Tonight on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.